Welcome to I Feel Fat Today. I'm your host, Kelly Taylor. Thank you once again for joining. I am sitting here by my window as I record this quick little intro before we get into it with our guest. And I hope you are enjoying the sweet ambient sounds of birds chirping at about 5:45 p.m. on this lovely Thursday. 5:45, and the sun is still out, which is really exciting. I don't think I realized how much I needed this with the sun being out after 5 p.m. I think I kind of have always made it part of my personality to enjoy the sort of gloomy, almost like English weather. I think in high school I was very much into it being gloomy and there not be birds chirping, more into crows, more into the squawks of crows than the chirps of birds. And to a degree, I do enjoy that because I do love an excuse to isolate, which I feel like when we're not in daylight savings, that's what you get. But then you come out of it, you see the light at the end, and you realized, oh, I've been depressed. And now here I am, depressed, and it's sunny out, but with a little bit more energy. I hope that if you're having a hard week, that you're getting through it. It's now at the time of you listening to this. If you're listening to it when it comes out, it's Friday. So you've done it. You've made it through the work week, which is great. And I hope that things are not too crazy for you as they are for me. And if you've had mental breakdowns this week in the middle of the workday because people aren't getting back to you or you feel like everything's falling apart, just know you're granted that mental breakdown. You deserved it and you got the energy out, and now you're ready to take a deep breath and get back to it. And then you can have a weekend where you relax and don't feel bad about relaxing. Or you have a weekend where you go out and have fun and don't feel bad about that either. Okay? This is all me talking to myself, and hopefully you can appreciate that too, listener. And yeah, enjoy the sweet sounds of the breeze going by, and hopefully this is pleasant to listen to and not me just trying to make my poor audio quality sound good for you. I love the ambient sound of traffic passing by. I live off of a rather busy road, and so I kind of enjoy the sort of side traffic sounds that gets me. Very New York. Okay. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, I Feel Fat Today podcast over there on YouTube. Like and comment. We got shorts, clips of the podcast over there, as well as over on our Instagram. Follow us on Instagram at I Feel Fat Today. Follow me, your host, Kelly Taylor. Hello, this is Kelly. At Hello, this is Kelly. Some of the comments on the clips that I've posted on YouTube are very funny. I forget what the clip was, but this one guy comments, "Wrong and loud." And I was like, whoa, hit the nail on the head with that one. Wrong and loud. That feels like it would be a good name for a special or even another podcast, which I am not starting one of those because I am far too busy. Leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. And I really mean that because I do feel like I am starting to gain listeners who are discovering the podcast from their doom scrolling. And I think people are checking out the podcast. And if you are, please leave a review. That really helps. And it would mean a lot to me and make this feel like a legitimate endeavor that I am doing. But maybe I'm just screaming into the void. This is just sort of like an audio diary that anybody can listen to at this point. Sort of like an audio, Kalida? Got in big trouble for having one of those back in the day. Okay. Life update. I think the first few seconds of this podcast gave a good indicator as to how I am doing, which isn't terrible, but also not great. but there's nothing going wrong. Everyone's alive, healthy, and well, I think. And so I don't really know what I have to be upset about. Okay. Let's just go to our guest. I have a great conversation with my guest this week, as I say every week, but this conversation was interesting because I spoke at length with my guest about a weight loss surgery that he had almost 20 years ago. And I think that if you're somebody that enjoys listening to someone's weight loss journey, or you yourself interested in considering weight loss surgery, not that you have to be, but I enjoy talking about this stuff. And so if you're listening, maybe that means you do too. So please welcome to the podcast my guest this week, Matt Menard.
We're live. All right.
Oh my gosh, how are you?
Doing good. I'm
Good.
doing good. Yeah.
I'm glad. It was some craziness before we started recording, but we're good now. We're good.
We're good now.
The animals have been separated.
The animals love me. What can I say?
Truly. Okay, so I really wanted to have you on because you have quite the weight loss story.
I do.
And I think it'd be really cool to talk to you just to hear a little bit about what that was all about. So where are you from?
I'm originally from a little bitty farming town called Indian Bayou, Louisiana, which is it's a 40-minute drive from a place called Lafayette. And Lafayette's about 3 hours north of New Orleans.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, so you were born and raised in Louisiana?
Born and raised in Louisiana, Cajun boy. Grandparents spoke French, the whole thing.
Wow, okay. Yeah. Okay, so do you have any siblings?
I have an older brother, big bastard. Brandon's about 6'6", 290.
Okay.
Yeah, he played college football.
Okay,
yeah.
Big guy.
Big guy.
Big guy. And so is he one of those big guys? You said he played football. Like, is he one of those big guys where it's like almost athletic?
I would say
in the build.
I'd say very athletic.
Like very athletic, like very muscular.
He's what I call country thick.
Oh, country thick.
So
okay, country thick.
Country thick. So like, if he stands sideways, he's like 12 feet long. Like he's enormous.
Yeah.
You know, from like titty to like back, he's like that. He's
solid.
Chunky. Just yeah. Have you ever seen of Mice and Men?
Yes.
Yeah. George.
Yeah. Okay.
That's my older brother.
Gotcha.
I mean, not as dumb.
Right.
Not as dumb. All right.
Yeah. Like he's not killing.
Oh no, he's definitely killing small creatures with his bare hands.
Okay, so
sure.
big.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
And so how old were you when you decided I am going to lose weight?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've been on a diet. I don't remember ever not being on a diet.
Okay.
When I was growing up, I was always the fattest kid in school.
Yeah.
Always, like from first grade, kindergarten, the whole thing. You remember those like little tiny desks, like
yes.
those little singlets that you have to like squeeze into. I had to squeeze into those. I don't remember ever. I remember you used to be able to sit two to a seat. I could never sit two to a seat.
Right.
I was always by myself, and just wedging myself into one of these tiny desks.
Even as like a elementary, first, second grade.
Fattest kid in school.
Yeah.
Always fattest kid in school, including high school.
Yeah. Always
the fattest kid in school. And so I tried every diet. I yo-yoed, went, 300, 260, 350, 280, kind of the whole thing. And then in college, I hit 400 pounds.
Right, okay.
And I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
Like, I was like 26. And I was like, I hate my life. I have zero self-esteem. I want to have children one day and get married. I don't see many 50-year-olds that are as big as I am. So I've tried everything there is to try.
Right.
Except this one thing, which is drastic.
Yeah.
So try, and my dad's like a real tough guy. if you broke your leg, he'd tell you to walk it off.
Right, rub
Like,
some dirt on it.
That kind of guy, you know. Like I remember, like he used to bump into stuff, and like he'd really hurt his knee, and he would never say anything. He'd be like, "Oh, you know, it's okay. I have another one." You know,
Yeah.
like, stuff like that.
Yeah, totally.
So going to my dad, and like I felt like this was like weakness.
Right.
Like I couldn't do it on my own. Like so, I felt like it was like weakness. So going to my dad and asking him, you know, can you help me to do this thing? If he would have like balked or made a face, I would have never brought it up again, ever. And I've told him this before, and I was like, the sheer fact that you were open to it, you saved my life.
Yeah.
Because like I was 400 pounds and I was not going down.
Right.
I was heading in one direction. I mean, I was heading towards my 600-pound life. Like
Right.
I make jokes about it, but like I was going in that direction.
What do you think? Why do you think you were going in such a direction? Was it because you had always been big, or was it like, do you think depression was at play? Like, why do you think you saw yourself just going to the trajectory of like being truly sedentary?
Yeah. The thing was, I wasn't sedentary. It was bursts of exercise and dieting. So like I would hunker down and I'd be like, okay, I'm gonna do it this time. And I was like super strict, and I was working out every single day, and I was on the track and I was running, and every day was good. And then whenever I didn't get the results that I wanted, I throw my hands up and I just say, screw it.
Yeah.
And then whenever I stopped being able to fit into jeans,
Right.
and I was only wearing sweatpants, I basically said, well, I've done all that I can.
Yeah.
I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm tired of trying. I'm tired. I've
Yeah.
been doing this my entire life. I'm tired.
Yeah.
And I just stopped trying, and I was eating Oreos and chips and whatever was in sight, just to mask all of the pain and resentment. And, you know, because all of my friends were either getting married or, well, we were in our 20s, so they were having kids. You know.
Yeah.
That's just-
Louisiana.
they pop them out. So they're having kids, or they're having girlfriends and cheating on those girlfriends, you know, and stuff like that.
Living
and I was,
life. They were living life.
They were living life. And so I was always the third wheel.
Right.
You know, they would be like, hey, come meet, you know, I'm going to go meet this girl. Why don't you come with me? And of course I was there, but I was never with anyone. And it was just always, I felt like I was watching everyone else's life from like almost like a jail cell.
Right.
Like I got to watch everybody else live while I just stayed and was like the friend who made everyone laugh.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep. Almost stereotypically.
Yeah.
Kind of. So I want to go back to the beginning now.
Back to the beginning.
Saying, you know, you were heavy your whole life.
Yeah.
Fattest kid in school.
Fattest kid in school.
So what were your parents like? Were your parents heavy set? Were your grandparents heavy set? Like, how much do you think genetics was at play as opposed to diet?
Yeah, I come from big people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Growing up, my dad was fat. My mama was fat. My grandfather was not thin, but he wasn't fat. My grandmother was a little chunky, but never too fat. So it was really my parents. And like they were big, so I was big. Like you know, like we owned a restaurant back in the day.
Oh wow,
and, like, all kinds of stuff. You know, so
Southern comfort.
So
food.
yeah, it was called Stop and Shop Barbecue. Very good. Yeah. And so we were just big. Like I remember my great grandfather was the biggest man in the area. He was like 6'3" in a time when most men were like 5'6".
Wow.
And like I come from big people.
Yeah.
So genetics definitely played a part in it.
Yeah.
But also, my diet wasn't good. I mean, the Southern diet is meant, and we grew up on a farm, so like the diet that was passed on was, okay, you need to eat all of this stuff because you're going to be working in the fields for 12 hours a day, and you need all this energy to get through this day. But then once my dad moved to like a more industrial job where he was like working in the oil field, my mama was working for Halliburton, like they were sedentary. And so, I mean, I played sports, but I was much less sedentary than picking cotton for 10 hours a day.
Yeah. What kind of farm was it?
So it was a small family farm, but we also did like sharecropping. So my grandfather had a lot of sugarcane, a lot of soybean, and a lot of sugarcane, soybean, and rice.
Okay.
And then the rice fields would turn into crawfish ponds, and the off season is like a bumper crop. So it was mainly soybean, sugarcane, rice, and then crawfish.
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so then, yeah, you said your parents kind of moved into more industrial jobs, away from the farming life.
Right. So, but the diet stayed the
diet
same.
stayed the same.
Yeah.
Diet stayed the same. Okay,
Yeah.
and did you find yourself, and maybe as a child you don't realize that this is what you're doing, maybe you look back and think, oh, that's what I was doing, like eating emotionally,
Yeah.
you know, escaping into food. Were you a kid that had a lot of friends?
I had friends, people pleaser.
Yeah.
You know? So I definitely had friends, and they would come over, but I think emotional eating was definitely there was a huge part of it, but like it wasn't everything. It was just like, you know, there's a saying in Louisiana, like we don't eat to live, like we live to eat. You know, so like
I mean, the food is so good.
the food is very, very good. I mean, I wasn't 400 pounds by accident. You know?
Totally.
Like, have you had biscuits and gravy?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
and we take it seriously. Like gumbo is like a huge, like if you put tomatoes in my mama's gumbo, she will cut you from neck to nape. Like she will split you in half. It's a big deal.
Sacred.
It's sacred.
Absolutely sacred.
Like certain foods, like you don't screw with it.
Yeah.
Like it's sacred. People will get into fights.
Yeah.
Over food. So it was a very big deal.
Big
so I
deal.
think it's the overall culture.
It's family.
Culture's built on food.
Yeah.
Like, hey, let's get up and let's go get boudin crackling. You know, let's go. Do you know what that is?
No.
Okay.
I know what crackling is.
Okay, so crackling is fried pork skin.
Yeah.
So it's basically chicharrones, but we call it crackling.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
And then boudin is rice and ground meat, a lot of liver and innards and stuff, and you put that into a sausage casing, and then you steam it. Oh yeah.
Damn.
Oh yeah, that's a hard clogger.
And yeah, but like you said, it's the culture. Like even just a crawfish boil, like that's communal.
That's like a barbecue.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, food is how you show love. Food is how you communicate.
Yeah.
So just.
I could easily take down 10 pounds back in the day.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the thing about crawfish is it's spicy, so it gets on your lips. And the way that you quench it, you drink a bunch of beer. And because it's so salty and you drink a bunch of beer, you kind of get drunk, but not too drunk.
Right.
Because everything kind of evens
It's kind of the
out.
perfect pairing.
Yeah. It's like why Russians eat olives and stuff when they drink vodka.
Yeah. Oh, gosh. Okay. So fast forward
Yep.
to actually, wait. What kind of diets were you doing? Like, were you trying to do programs like Weight Watchers, Slim Fast, Jenny?
I did Jenny Craig.
I
did Weight Watchers. I did, it was like a program where you drank like a lot of shakes. It was by this doctor named Sanjita Shah. I don't know if she's still doing it, but like you did like 2 weeks of nothing but protein shakes. And then I did diet pills. I did the cabbage soup diet.
Yep.
Which is great because your kitchen always smells like a fart.
Totally.
Which is great. I did only meat. I did no meat. I did zero carb. I remember I did zero carbs for like 60 days. And like at the 61st day, I would have punched somebody for a piece of bread. I'm like, give me some bread.
You're just like an encyclopedia of diets. Like you've done literally
everything.
Gosh,
Yeah.
Totally.
Except anorexia. That's where I
Yeah,
drew
that's
the
where you
line.
drew the
That's where I
line.
drew the
I'm
line.
not doing that.
And I'm also not throwing up.
Yeah.
If it's inside, it's staying.
Yeah, totally. And when you would go to these spaces, like would you go to the Weight Watchers meetings?
Wait, what? Yeah, I'd go to was it Eaters Anonymous, Overeaters Anonymous. I'd go to the Weight Watchers meeting with my mom, and it was me and a bunch of other middle-aged women.
Yeah. That's why I brought it up, because like I've been to Weight Watchers meetings where there are men, but like literally it's like probably 50 to 1.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
So, yeah, a very, very woman's focus. And how long would these diets last? You said the no carb thing was like a 60-day thing.
Yeah.
Like, was it like you would go like 3 months, 6 months?
Yeah, I'd go like 4 months, 5 months, 3 months, 30 days, depending on what it was. But I would always throw up my hands and say, oh, this is a bunch. Because I would always plateau.
Yep.
And I would plateau, and I would still be doing everything that I was doing to lose the weight. And then I'd get to that plateau. Let's see, screw this. I'm not doing this.
Yeah.
You know? And then it came back on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can only describe it as feeling like it's a curse.
Yeah.
Because you work so hard to get it off. And it's when I take my foot off the gas, and you probably can relate to this, where I realize how much I was restricting.
Yeah.
Like how much I truly was going against this like desire to eat.
Yeah, and what they don't tell you is that to break the plateau, you have to be even more insane about it.
Yeah.
But they don't. They kind of they don't really tell you that. They just say, well, just keep doing what you're doing, and don't depend on weight to be the measure of the thing that
Right.
tells you that you're losing weight, and all this bunch of baloney.
Right.
But everyone were like, let's see what the scale says. Let's see what the scale says. And of course, if it doesn't say exactly what you want it to say, you throw it out the window.
Right. Exactly. Yep. The scale can be very detrimental
Yeah. By
in
the
a
way,
way.
why do they make scales that are made of glass?
I know.
I mean, what? I was always scared to get. I'm like, I'm going to shatter this
I
thing
never
at some
I
point.
don't understand how scales have weight limits. like
This only go this high. I was
it's like on my 600-pound life, they literally have to go to like a loading
to
dock.
a grain yard. They gotta weigh you like gravel.
Trash compacting facility.
They're like, yeah, we're gonna pave the road with this, and then we're gonna put your chunky ass on this side. Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Okay, so you were at 400 or around 400 when you decided.
I was at 400 was like the my lowest of the low. Like I was
Right.
I refused to wear larger than a 50 size pant.
Right.
So I was not only wearing sweatpants, kind of stopped showering, to attract ladies, and
Pheromones.
yeah, and just that was my limit. Like once I got to 400 pounds, I was like, all right, like you're either gonna die,
Yep.
or you're gonna figure it out.
Yeah. Okay. And so what had you heard of weight loss surgery, and which one did you end up getting done?
So I think it was right. I'm aging myself, but it's right around the time that the internet became.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, is this early 2000s? Yeah.
It was right about the time that the internet was a thing. So, no, I got the surgery in 2007, but I probably started looking around 2005. So I finally had access to the internet. So I was looking, and they had like advertisements and stuff. And I saw weight loss surgery, and I'm like, oh, that's for people that's for them.
That's for people that
Yeah,
are 400 pounds.
That's for people that have a problem.
Yeah,
yeah. And so I looked at it, and I talked to my parents. And so my mom, at the time, she was working for Halliburton. And at the time, Halliburton had this thing, like I was on my mother's insurance, and Halliburton would pay for like 80% of like weight loss surgery. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, and the one that they would pay for is called Roux-en-Y gastric bypass. And that's where they actually go in and they cut the top part of your stomach, and it's like a little egg. And then what they do is they slice right below what's called the duodenum, which is where you have most of your absorption of like nutrients and stuff. And they would basically connect the upper portion of the lower intestine to the pocket that they created from the larger part of your stomach. So the other part of your stomach, it's still in there. Like, so there's a blood supply. It just doesn't really do anything.
Yeah.
And like I said, it bypasses your duodenum and all that stuff. So all the food kind of just bypasses the larger part of the stomach and the part of the stomach where most of the absorption happens. And then that's kind of what happened.
Wow. Yeah. Interesting. I'm very interested in all the different kinds of weight loss surgeries and what they do. And what a great description you just gave us of what that is. And it's also like, I learned so much because I have people in my life that have gotten various weight loss surgeries done. I didn't realize that parts of the stomach do different jobs.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
Yeah.
So not only is it making your stomach physically smaller.
So it gives your brain the reaction that you're full faster.
Yeah. Because you physically are.
Because your stomach is about the size of an egg.
Yeah.
Now, it'll stretch like over time, but
it
for the
can
most
get
part,
bigger.
It can get bigger for
Yeah.
sure. You can get it to about as big as the other one was. But that's
right. No, absolutely. Yeah.
But we'll talk about that later in the episode.
Okay, so I want to know. Try to like take us back to like you get it done, and it was 2007, so I'm sure they're not doing like psych evals. They probably took your vitals and was like,
they definitely did.
Oh, they did. Okay,
psychological
tell
evaluation. And they basically they just want to make sure that you're within that you're not like suicidal or schizophrenic or whatever it may be. And for the most part, your boy's okay. No, so they did like the psych eval, and then the biggest thing was that you had to go on a no carb diet that was the no carb diet. So I had to go on a no carb diet for 60 days, and the reason that they do that is because they do it what's called laparoscopically, and what they do is they poke holes, then they put cameras on the inside of your stomach, so that they can see, because if they do a huge laceration down the middle, you're in the hospital for like 2 weeks. Whereas if they do it laparoscopically, you're out in 3 days. Mm-hmm. So that was the one that I wanted. So you actually have to shrink your liver, because if your liver is too fatty, then they can't see the area where they need to do all the incisions. So you have to shrink your liver enough for them to be able to go in and actually do the surgery that they need to do. So that was the prep work. So they had to do the psych eval, they had to do the prep work, and you had to have what's called 3 comorbidities. Right. So that was the way that you were able to get the insurance to pay for it. So I had high blood pressure. I have gout. I still have gout. Stinks.
It's like a Southern man's disease.
It's like an old gentleman's.
Like my grandfather's from Kentucky and has gout, even though he's lived in New Jersey his whole life. He has gout.
That's. I had too much whiskey and red meat.
And isn't being obese?
And then obesity were like the 3 comorbidities. So that allowed me to qualify. So I was. Can I cuss?
Yeah, of
okay,
course.
all right. I don't know.
This goes on YouTube.
So I was fucked up enough to where they were like, "Come on in, you fuck up, come here."
You check all of our boxes. Okay. Yeah. So, and what was it like following that surgery? Where even though it's done laparoscopically, you get out in 3 days. It's an intense operation, because when you really think about it. Now you're coming out of this, everything's got to change.
Well, you have to relearn how to eat.
Yeah.
And they don't really, there's a lot of stuff that they don't tell you about. They're good salesmen to get you in and get you to do it.
Yeah.
But they don't really tell you, they kind of say, everyone's different. That's the thing. They don't really tell you that everyone's going to be different. They'll say, you might have this reaction or you might have this reaction, but every person's going to be different. So right after surgery, I went back to work. And I remember I had a chicken wing, and I turned green. I got super sick, ran to the bathroom. I mean, just Jackson Pollock all over the toilet. Yeah. And I just felt awful. And then it's kind of like it's a trial by fire, because you don't know how each food is going to react with your new stomach. So you have to eat things and say, okay, I can eat that. And then you eat one thing, can't eat that. And then you slowly figure out what you can't eat. And the one thing that I will never be able to eat again, because I've tried it probably once a year since my surgery, are hot dogs.
Yeah.
I can never have a hot dog ever again. I eat every year. We'll go to a baseball game and I'll be like, I'm going to try. And I'll eat a hot dog and I'll be watching the game. Here we go. And then I got to run to the toilet and throw up.
It's got to be mental at this point. It's got to be mental.
It's something about it. I don't know what it is.
But listen, you're not missing it. It's best you don't eat hot dogs.
It's probably best that I don't eat hot dogs.
Yeah.
But it's hot dogs.
They didn't have you go on like a liquid diet following?
Yeah, so sorry. So right after surgery, I was on a liquid diet for about 1 week or 2 weeks. The first time that I introduced food, that's what happened.
Right. Because you have to slow. Yeah, got it. Okay. Yeah. And when you were on this liquid diet, do you remember having feelings or cravings? Or was it like for the first time feeling like, wow, I don't need or want food?
Yeah, no, I didn't need food. And you're still kind of jacked up. Like right after surgery, they have these things called Jackson something pumps. But there's these little blood pumps that are hanging out of you. So you don't want to do anything. You just want to lay there and
try not to die.
Try not to do anything. I forget what they're called. And you got to empty them out it's gross. But you're just kind of laying there, and so you don't want to do anything. And certainly, you've had something very drastic done to you. So when the doctors say don't do this, you're like, all right, well, you just cut me open a couple of days ago. I guess I'll listen. Although not some people don't, which is crazy. Yeah.
I also think it's a little bit different if you were to get weight loss surgery in 2024 as opposed to 07. The technology was still pretty new in 07.
It was very new.
Very new.
I had a very good surgeon too.
Yeah.
So
shout out to him or her. Him. It was 2007.
I'll remember it at some point. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah. Because I know people that have gotten weight loss surgery in like 2012.
Yeah.
And even from like a few years post that, of people that I've known that have gotten weight loss surgery, like it's completely different even at that point. So like it feels like every year it's evolving and getting like a little bit more precise.
Yeah, that's just great.
Yeah.
This is great.
And there's all
Yeah.
different methods too. Like I hadn't, I knew of the one you were talking about, but it's so weird just the idea of like the bigger part of your stomach that's no longer in use just kind of hanging out.
Just hanging out.
I'm just hanging out.
Yeah, I'm doing my thing.
Yeah.
You know? And because they have the gastric sleeve and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it's like less
Tie,
it's
the
like
lap
less intrusive.
band.
The reason why they wanted to do this one for me was because listen, this is permanent. This for the rest of your life. We can like redo everything, but you really don't want us to do that.
Yeah, no.
So it's like, and I found like that's good for me. Like, put handcuffs on me.
Yeah, totally.
You know, put handcuffs on me because that's a surefire way that I'm going to do it. You know?
Yeah.
So.
Okay, so we get it done.
Yep.
We're learning what we can eat now.
Yes.
How soon did the weight start to come off?
Almost immediately.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I played football my whole life. I've been an athlete my entire life. I mean, I use athlete, you know, whatever. I was a big boy who was strong. But working out was all like, I never really stopped working out. I mean, I'd go in spurts. It wasn't all the time, but it's not like I forgot.
Right.
Like I had muscle memory and all that stuff. So like I just, as soon as I could get in the gym again, I did. And so like I was doing the same stuff I was doing in the gym, but now the weight came off even faster.
Yeah.
You know, and it just, I shed it all in about a year and a half.
Yeah.
So I went from 400 pounds to basically 165.
Yeah.
In like a year and a half, and I looked like a giant lollipop.
Yeah.
My head was huge.
Yeah.
I looked like a Q-tip. I mean, I was just walking around. I felt like, you know, if the wind blew in one way, my head would take me that way. You know, I was all head. And I was like, all right, this is too much.
Yeah.
So I bounced back a little bit, and right now I'm like 175, 180, and that's where I've been since right around like 2010.
Oh,
like that.
okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
And I pretty much maintained since then.
Maintaining is the hardest part.
Yeah. At some point you just got to figure it out.
Yeah.
You just gotta
because it
figure it
is
out.
what you're doing day in and day out all the time.
And because there are times when my diet has been awful.
Yeah.
But you know, you have this tool that you can use. So even though you might eat awful for a little bit, there's only so much you can eat.
Right.
So like so you're eating like chips and like fake cheese, which I love, and and you know the people that I love are yelling at me for doing it. But I'm like, I'm eating there, I'm there, and I'm sitting, I'm eating chips and fake cheese. But there's only so much chips and fake cheese that I can take in at one time.
Yeah.
So it kind of puts I have a governor on
Totally
how bad I can be.
Yeah. So like. Even after, what is it? It's been over almost 20 years
Almost 20 years.
Almost 20 years since this operation.
Yeah.
You still feel like your stomach is like, if you eat too much, it'll like.
Oh yeah, like if you don't follow the rules, it's coming back up.
Wow.
Yeah. So you just figure out what those rules are.
Because I know people that had those. You're disciplined. Because I know people that have had weight loss surgeries where their stomach is now very like smaller, and they play through the pain. Like, okay, like I'll eat this and I'm gonna feel it come up. But if you do that enough for like you eat it, it comes back up.
Right.
You eat it, comes back up. Your stomach starts to get bigger,
Right.
and now those bitches are on Ozempic now as
boy.
another way to lose
Yeah.
weight because they've gained the weight back.
Yeah,
From losing, from the surgery.
Yeah, people think like, the social stigma with the whole thing. They're like, oh, that's cheating and all that stuff, and yeah, it's whatever.
Yeah.
But it's not like you can't gain it back.
Right. You absolutely can.
You 100% can.
Yeah.
And a lot of people do. And I feel awful for those people because that's when I feel like there's something psychological.
Yeah,
involved.
absolutely.
Because I know personally what it feels like to overeat and to break those rules, and it feels like someone is kicking you right in the dick.
Yeah.
And I would not, even if you don't have a dick, but like, you know what I mean. It's bad. It's bad. That's what I'm trying to say. It's bad.
Yeah, totally.
And just if you're able to like go through that pain and still like, I want this, there's something psychologically wrong.
Yeah.
Because it hurts. Yeah.
But food is just, that's why I say food is a very powerful drug.
Well, it's the only drug in the world where you have to eat a little bit of it to stay alive.
I know, totally. And
Yeah.
it's like so accessible.
Yeah.
Liquor
Yeah.
stores might close at a certain hour, but the bodega's open all night. You
always
always got access to it.
Yeah. Was it in insomnia cookies?
Oh, forget
You
it.
can get a cookie at 5 in the morning?
Oh, yeah. Come on.
Come on.
So you lose a bunch of weight really
Yep.
quickly.
Yeah.
So 2008, you're coming out a different man.
Yeah. I passed one of my best friends was a manager at Walgreens back home, and he was coming this way, and I was walking the opposite direction in the same aisle. And as we're crossing paths, I'm like, "Hey, B," and he crosses me, and he gets to the end of the aisle, and he stops, and he says, "Matt." And he didn't recognize me. And this is a guy that I've known since I'm 5 years old.
Right.
And he did not recognize who I was. And like that was the drastic of a change that I sent you a couple of photos. I'm guessing that you're going to put them up.
Yeah,
But, like,
I am.
It's true. I do not look like the person that I was. I look like a completely different person.
Yeah.
And frankly, I am a completely different person.
Yeah. I know when you sent the photos that you sent, I see your face completely,
Yeah.
but it's like, wow,
Yeah.
I really couldn't picture you. I've only ever known you as a skinny person.
Yeah.
I have a few different questions.
Yep.
So what was it? Okay, first take me through how it felt getting the compliments, because I bet when you lost that first 150 pounds, even if you're not like skinny,
Right.
you're looking way different. Like, how was it feeling people being like, Matt, you look amazing?
Right.
Like, was it so good?
You've known me for a couple of years now.
Yeah, about
right?
5 years.
Right. I'm a pretty sweet guy, right?
Yeah.
I became a giant asshole.
New body behavior.
Because I convinced myself the entire time, I'm like, if I was just thin, that chick would love me 100%.
Yeah.
All I have to do is be thin, and the world would be beckoning at my feet.
Yep.
So as soon as I got thin, I was like, come on over. Here I am.
I got nothing to prove.
That's right. And all of my best friends will tell you I turned into the biggest prick on the planet until they checked me one night and they were like, "Hey, stop being an asshole." I'm like, "What do you mean?"
You've never had to tell me I was being an asshole before. Yeah.
And then eventually I was like, all right, I'm back.
Oh, you got good friends, man. You got good friends to check you.
I have the best friends in the world.
Oh, that's so
I have
nice.
the best friend. I've been knowing all of my best friends for the most part. I've been knowing since I'm 5 years old, and we've grown up together. They're all back home in Louisiana. They all have wives and ex-wives and kids and child support. And all that stuff. Yeah.
Wow, shout out to them. That's
Awesome. Shout out.
Okay, yeah. So you became a little bit of an asshole, because that new attention can be very exciting.
It's intoxicating.
Yeah, intoxicating
when you've never gotten it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's like all of a sudden you go from it always blew my mind how like in the biggest bodies you can be invisible, and then you shed weight and become physically smaller, and then all of a sudden people see you.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, it's just. And I kind of get it because I've kind of gone through it. Like you don't want to look at someone for too long to feel like you're staring, because you don't want them to feel self-conscious.
Totally. It's like looking at someone in a wheelchair.
Right, exactly. But then again, they also want to feel seen. They want to feel like they're quote unquote normal. So it's a double-edged sword. It's like you're trying to be polite, but it makes them still feel unseen.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's exactly how I felt. I felt unseen. I felt like I was periphery, third wheel, whatever it may be. But now
now you get on stage in front of people.
Now I'm in the
and you're like,
seat.
look at me.
Look at me. Oh, yeah. This is where it comes from. Yeah.
Totally.
You didn't look at me for years. No, you have to.
Yes. Okay. So We're all in so much pain.
Yeah.
Okay, so what I am hearing when I
Yeah.
hear you say that you've lost so much weight in a matter of a year, that is
Yeah.
a lot of extra skin.
Yes.
So did that play into your body image? Because it's like your pant size went down,
Yeah.
but if you take those clothes off,
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah.
a totally different story.
Yeah, and right about that time, women started to become more interested in me and stuff like that. And so, of course, I'm self-conscious. Everything is drooping. So I had skin loss surgery, I guess 2011, maybe 2010, something like that. And, so I got my top done and I got my waistline done. But, I don't know, this is maybe... It's
Never TMI.
Oh no. I don't know if it's weird or not, but I wanted to keep something. So I I still have a lot of skin on my arms, and I was
Wow.
because I was like, I want to keep something because I never want to forget that of what I went through, and to make sure that I never go back there. So I was like, all right, I'm going to cut my titties off, which is fine. Which is I don't know if you know this. So when they cut your tit off,
Yeah.
right, what they have to do is they have to take the nipple from your original tit, which is down here, and then they cut the titty off, and then they got to replace the nipple where it normally would be so I have a fake nipple, basically. It's my original nipple, but it's a fake.
Replaced.
It's like, it's just there.
Yeah.
It's just hanging out.
So is that useless as it was before?
Useless as it was before. Yes, exactly. Exactly. So it serves no function. It's just there so I don't look too weird. Aesthetics, yes, exactly. And they cut where my belly button was, so they had to surgically make me a new belly button. Wow. Yeah. So I have a bionic belly button.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
A new belly button.
I got a new belly button, and the new belly button doesn't get any lint. It doesn't. It's lint free. I
Yeah,
don't get any
totally.
belly button lint. It's just there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
See, that's interesting what you said about keeping your arms, because that would have been the first thing. I'm like,
Take it. Oh no, I got bingo wings and I'm keeping them.
yeah, bingo. I'm trying to work on a joke about that.
Yeah.
I have this joke where I'm like, I went on a cruise for the first time, and I didn't realize that there would be so many activities to do on the boat.
Yeah.
I was really excited when I didn't realize they were going to have bingo, but it was all good. I came prepared. I brought my arms. No one ever laughs.
The bingo wings.
Yeah.
You gotta know what the bingo wings
gotta know what
are.
those
You gotta know
are.
what the bingo wings
Yeah.
are. Yeah.
There's something there, because
Yeah.
like people that know what bingo wings are,
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So then I go into this whole thing of like, you don't know what bingo arms are? Have you ever heard of like lunch lady wings? Like, and then I start naming every disparaging nickname there is for a part of the body, just to be like, there's so many mean things you can say about yourself.
Yeah. I like wearing tank tops and saying, I want to be the flying squirrel of comedy.
Yes.
Like a sugar glider.
Very Southern. That
Thank
works well
you.
in the South,
Thank
I'm sure.
you. Yeah.
So do you have a lot of scarring from that removal surgery?
Yeah, so I got I've got a scar here, which is covered by chest hair, and then I've got one below my bikini line. But so it's right here, so it's not visible,
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
and it's faded. Like I said,
It's been many years.
Yeah, it's been many years, so
Yeah.
it's faded. So
Yeah.
unless you really look, the one thing I do have is they only did the front, and I kind of got these things that look like pregnant cat tits on the back.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, so I still got that, but I'm like, whatever.
Whatever. You look fine.
I'm fine.
Totally. You got a girlfriend.
I do.
You're fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like, you're never going to have the perfect body.
No.
You know, so like you could get, unless you're like a real housewife that
Right.
gets every section of their body liposuction, which is like
Botox, yeah.
that in and of itself is like, okay, well now I'm putting myself into a box where like I'm going to be that person that gets every single thing sucked out of me. It's
No.
like, no, I'm a human.
Yes. Yeah. Listen, we all have different bodies. Brad Pitt has something about his body that he does not like.
Absolutely.
100%.
Yeah.
And every person does, and that's what you have to realize. You're not alone.
Yeah.
You are not alone. We all have things about our bodies that we don't like. And And it is what it is. Just you have to learn to embrace it and live with it. The way that I'll just make jokes about it, and that's pretty much my coping mechanism since I've been young. You laugh at it before anybody else can.
Yep.
You make it part of the joke, and you move on.
Yeah. I'm gonna say the thing that I know people are probably thinking, even though they're probably not thinking that at all, but because I'm self-conscious about it, let me make a joke about it before anybody else can.
Exactly.
Totally.
Yeah.
Okay, so how did it feel like another reinvigoration of your life after getting that skin removed?
Yeah.
Like,
well, at first, see, again, the surgeon doesn't tell you this, but like after they did the surgery, like all of my skin looked like Deadpool's face. I mean, it was just like I thought they had done like a terrible job. And in fact, my girlfriend at the time, I sent her photos. I'm like, they ruined my body. You know?
my body, my beautiful body.
It's terrible, you know. And then it finally healed, and I was like, oh, thanks.
Yeah. No, we're good. We're good.
I appreciate it.
Yeah. So it's just stuff you don't know.
Yeah,
totally.
it's stuff you don't know.
Totally.
But yeah, so it was it was a change because I was like, oh, my shirts fit well now. Like I used to just, when I had the saggy titties and the big belly, I used to wear Under Armour.
Yeah.
It was like
compression.
Man Spanx.
That's
right. So I used to wear the compression garments to keep everything tight.
Yeah.
But then once I got that cut off, I could, you know.
Yeah, now just live.
I felt better at the beach or the pool or whatever it may be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Totally. Okay, so in terms of food that you can't eat anymore, is hot dog the only
For the
thing?
most part. For the most part, hot dogs I can't eat. Hot dogs and sausage.
Just like any
tubed meat.
Yeah, tubed meat.
Any tubed meat for some reason. And I'll try it. Every year I'll try it.
Yeah.
I'll try it.
Do you keep
Never works out well.
So do you keep like a strict diet now, or do you just know like I can have ice cream, but it has to be like a very small amount or any kind of amount? Like what are there foods that like even mentally you won't touch anymore?
No. I mean, for the most part, my diet is, you know, if you want to eat peanut butter and jelly sandwich, it's half of a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
Got it.
It's basically portion control. Now, when COVID hit, I kind of lost my marbles a little bit. And so from COVID till about maybe a couple of months ago, I was eating bad. Luckily, my tool was working for me and it wasn't really showing, but I was eating bad. And just recently, I kind of got back on the horse, and I'm pushing the whole no sugar thing. So
Great.
Really trying to focus on no sugar.
Yeah. Nice. Okay. Awesome.
I go through waves. I had a cookie on Sunday with Reuben Wolf. Thank you very much. And he made me do it, but it's okay.
It really does sound like you're like. Once you got the surgery done, like moderation has been a thing that you have been able to get more of a handle on, because even before, you know, getting to the point of even considering surgery, you said it would be quick spurts. So it's like, I'm like all or nothing behavior, like nothing in moderation whatsoever.
Exactly.
So that's like that in and of it. I mean, you know, like we said, you've had many years to work and perfect this.
Yeah. And then like once you started seeing the progress and it just started falling off, like you just wanted to keep doing it. And that was like the motivational thing. You're like, oh, this is working. I want to keep doing this because it was doing the thing that I had wanted it to do all this time and not plateauing. I never plateaued, which was great, which is always my killer. So like portion control was built in.
Right.
So
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So with a portion of your stomach being removed, and it's like the part that handles like absorption of certain nutrients, I'm sure that played into like the whole like what foods work for you and what foods don't.
For sure.
Did you deal with like things like hair loss or anything like that, like from rapid weight loss? I know people have issues like losing hair and there's other things that can pop up.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I mean, listen, this was a road I was going to travel either way. If you saw a photo of my dad, I was heading down this road, but it just kind of sped it up a little bit. So I had probably more hair loss than I've always had a widow's peak since I was like 15. It just the peak is slowly just gone back more. But a little bit, but it wasn't terrible.
And like it all calibrated out, because you have fine hair now.
Yeah, it all worked out.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. But At some point.
And so
That's got to happen.
So before the surgery,
Yeah.
eating, drinking what you want, what was
Yeah.
reintroducing alcohol back into your life like?
It was slow at first. I probably didn't drink alcohol for maybe a year or so after, and then I slowly started to incorporate. The weird thing about drinking alcohol, which they say that you're not supposed to, but whatever, I got to live life. It's your absorption rate is crazy. So like you'll have 2 beers and be completely wasted, and then sober within a span of like an hour and a half.
Whoa.
That's wild.
That's crazy.
It's wild. So like you get drunk almost immediately on nothing.
Yeah.
But then if you stop drinking, you bounce back.
It's a money saver.
It's not bad.
Yeah.
I'm a cheap date.
Yeah,
So,
totally.
I'm a cheap date.
You can show up to a party, have a beer, maybe 2 if you want to get crazy. And then by the time it's time to leave the party, you're like, all right,
Well,
I'm driving.
I've always wanted to come up with a joke where, I get drunk enough and my confidence goes up to talk to a girl. But then as I'm talking to her, my confidence slowly starts to leave me as I'm sobering up.
Right.
So I start really well, and then I'll just fuck it up at the end by being myself.
That's so funny. So is that how it still is for you as
Yeah.
far as like drinking? Like,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
That's mad interesting.
Yeah.
That's so interesting.
So I try not to get too crazy, but I'll have like 1 or 2. Beer is good. I'll have like 1 or 2 beers every now and again. And
Yeah.
it's fine.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Amazing. What about anxiety about gaining the weight back? Well, no, we've just had a whole conversation.
Yeah, I
about-
mean, well, for me, it's always in the back of it's always in the back of my mind, and it's always in the mirror every
Right.
morning, and it's hard to describe to people that haven't gone through it how awful it feels, and to grow up that way and to be treated that way, and just the fear of ever going back there.
Yeah.
It's crippling, and it's like, it keeps you motivated just to make sure that you're doing everything you can. I want to do everything I can to make myself feel as good as I do now. And I never want to go back.
Totally.
Yeah. So it's always there.
Yeah. I mean, you mentioned with COVID, a lot of people had a tough time with COVID.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people got really uncomfortable because they were more sedentary than like what we're used to, just
Yeah.
living life. And so people did gain weight during that time.
Yeah,
And
for sure.
I think that it can be one of those things where, some people, they are just have the gift of being able to balance their body back out.
Mm-hmm.
And other people can fall into this depression where it's
Yeah.
like, well, I've gained the weight, so I'm just going to
Yeah.
keep going down this road. So it's
Yeah.
good that you were able to
Yeah.
get out of it.
I got cabin fever for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I was just ordering in every night
Uh-huh.
and just, we didn't know anything about it. So you didn't want to go outside. I was spraying down all your pizza boxes and stuff.
Totally. Oh, it's so weird.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
Okay. Because you're always kind of, no matter the size of your body, like when you grow up
Yeah.
a fat kid,
Yep.
like it almost feels like you're doomed from the start in a way. Like when you're walking into elementary school and you're the biggest kid,
Yeah.
that's the brain that you have, like a fat head.
It never ends.
It never ends.
It never goes away. Like
Yeah.
that part of you that is a people pleaser, that part of you that wants everyone to like you, like, that unconfident little boy, that never goes away.
Yeah.
That never, ever goes away. I say, I've got a thin body and a fat brain because I will never not see myself as that fat kid that feels alienated from everybody else. And I had a really hard time for a long time just being able to look people in the eye. Well, I know that seems weird, but I always felt ashamed of myself, ashamed of my body, ashamed of who I was, and I never thought that I was good enough to what I called look at the pretty people.
Yeah.
That's what I used to call it. And so I still do that,
Right.
and I know like I'm much more confident than I was then for sure. But when I get into like these funks, it'll spring up again, and I will just get into this haze of like, especially with comedy, with bombing at times.
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
you're a piece of shit.
Yeah.
And you're always that 5-year-old little boy. You're always that 5-year-old little fat boy, and that never leaves. That never leaves. I feel like my empathy has definitely gone up since I've gotten a little bit older. I remember when I used to be with my friends, and we would see like a fat person jogging on the side of the road. They would always be like, "Look at
Yeah, like ridicule.
yeah.
Yeah.
Look at this guy, sweating out a Pop-Tart or whatever they
Yeah.
were saying, shit like that." And every time I see those people, like, I want to encourage them as much as possible.
Yeah.
Like, good for you, dude.
I know.
Like, good for you.
I know. Making fun of, because
Of course.
but making fun of somebody that is trying to exercise
To
is
better
like,
themselves.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
like, oh man, I have nothing else I can do. Like, I'm trying everything.
Yeah, and it's sad because not a lot of people have access to exercise equipment or treadmills or whatever,
Right.
or they just like to be outside, and you're putting yourself out there for the public to see, and it's hard,
Yeah.
because people are making, they're saying stuff, and they're making fun of you or whatever, and I would just encourage you to just don't listen to that shit. Do not listen to that shit. You're doing what's best for you, and you keep going. And I want you to know, for every 2 people that might ridicule you, there are 5 people that will encourage you.
Yeah.
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 So it's hard. Airplanes were a huge thing.
Yeah.
Airplanes were a huge thing. That was a huge difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you had like experience being on a plane as like a really fat
Yes,
person as opposed to
I mean, it is awful.
awful.
Because you get on that plane, one, they're very intense about wanting to know what side of the plane that you're on. And I think that's a weight distribution thing. I'm
Right.
not sure. Maybe it's in my own head, but I feel like they were very, where are you sitting?
Right.
Like, where are you sitting? But then you get to like the front of the plane, and when you're going down that aisle that your thighs are going to rub every seat,
Right.
and you're going to hit everyone's shoulder, and you're going to try to turn sideways to avoid it, but it's not going to happen every time. And you have a bag, and every time you position your body, you're going to slap someone with your gut or whatever it may be, and it is horrifying. But you know that you have to get to your seat, or you're going to hold up the whole plane.
Right.
So just that process of just being in front of, because when you're in front of that plane, because they load the first class first, you have all these people that are looking at you.
Yeah.
And that was awful. Just awful. And then you finally get to your seat after you've rubbed many people the wrong way, and you get there, and then what happens? Seatbelt's not big enough.
Yeah.
And you stretch and you stretch and you pull and you tug and you try to manipulate your belly as much as you possibly can, so you don't have to get the seatbelt extension.
Yeah.
Because the seatbelt extension is an admission to failure.
Yeah.
It's an admission to failure. It's like, I'm not this big. I'm not this big. I'm not this big.
Until you are.
Until you have to ask for it.
Yeah. Until
Yeah.
you are.
My dad was shameless about it. He would get it on the way to his seat. He was
Totally.
Like, I don't give a shit.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's the thing. Dad is just like,
He doesn't care.
I'm working.
I got shit to do.
I got shit to do. This is my life. My life is needing a seatbelt extender. And you know what? I do think that if you're a person living in a bigger body like that,
Yeah.
I want you to confidently get the seatbelt extender. But it
Yeah.
doesn't work like that for
No.
everybody's brain.
No.
And you didn't have a brain that had the capacity to want to do that. And
No.
like you felt a lot of shame. And so
Yes. 100%.
you did what you needed to do to, I think anybody in your position would do what you decided to do as far as like getting weight loss surgery, because luckily the stars aligned where you were able to get it in a semi-affordable fashion.
Semi-affordable.
It's still, you still got 20% to cover, which
Listen, I only have good things to say about Halliburton. Okay.
Yeah.
I only have good things to say about Halliburton, so I support
and
it.
their benefits package. Yeah, and luckily you have a brain that allowed you to listen to your stomach. And like
Yeah.
you said, it's like a real psychological thing if you are pushing through that physical pain
It is painful.
of overeating once undergoing something like that, which
Yep.
plenty of people do. And you didn't even have a Facebook group you could join back then.
No Facebook
now,
group.
Now if you get bariatric
No.
surgery, there's 10 bariatric babe
Yes.
groups you can join.
That is true. I am on a commercial though.
You are?
I'm on a commercial as a success story for gastric bypass.
Okay, you were telling this story, and I was like thinking, like that doctor's office should like.
Yeah, I don't know.
Use you.
I'm like running upstairs.
That's amazing.
Yeah. I've got it somewhere.
Commercial where
Yeah, it's my only commercial. Yeah, it's my only credit.
he's
Yeah.
available. I
Yeah.
love it.
By the way, I remembered your name, Dr. Phillip. Got you, Sam. Thank
There
you.
you go.
Yeah.
Dr. Phillip, find him on LinkedIn. Or don't. But he was a good surgeon.
He was a good surgeon. Yeah, he was a good dude.
Okay, I don't think I have any more questions.
Yeah,
But it was so great talking to you.
this was fun. Yeah,
I love talking to people about this stuff, but you know, your story of being as big as you were, and
Yeah.
I mean, look at you now. And I'm not saying that thinness is a barometer of, you know, being successful, but for what you set out to do,
Yeah.
it's extremely successful.
Yeah.
And I think it could be a really, really inspiring story to some that may be considering a surgery like this, and
Yeah.
or just relating to this hamster wheel of,
Yeah.
when you said that you had moments of being like really into something, really working out, and then it's stopping.
Yeah.
Usually because of a plateau.
yes,
That in and of itself is such a mental thing
yeah.
that could just cause you to be 400 pounds. Do you
Yeah.
ever watch like My 600-Pound Life?
I can't watch it.
Yeah.
I can't watch it because I hate reality TV,
Mm-hmm.
and two, it's just I saw myself. I saw myself there, and like it's all about being comfortable with your body, and I was not comfortable with my body. Now, if you are comfortable with your body, then that's fine. Then you
Right.
go and you live your life as anyone. But I was not comfortable with my body. I was not comfortable with the way that I looked. I was not comfortable with the way that I was.
Right.
So now I am.
Yeah.
Now I'm comfortable.
And you
Yeah.
stopped taking care of yourself. Like you said, you hit a point where you're just eating whatever and you weren't showering.
I wasn't showering. I wasn't shaving. I wasn't showering.
You were just letting yourself.
I was a smelly bastard.
People at work are like, thank God he got this fucking surgery.
I was still in school. So, yeah, I'm sure I was a smelly classroom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Awful. Yeah.
Well, you're the best. Thanks
Thank
for
you so
coming
much for
on.
inviting me. This was very fun.
Tell the people where to find you.
So you can find me at Matt_Menard 2020 on Instagram. Manhattan, www.manhattanfunny.com is my website. I do comedy all around the city. Please hire me. I've got plenty of stories about weight loss and Southern stuff, as we say. And that's where you can find me, and please do.
Amazing. Well, Matt, I can't thank you enough.
Yeah.
This has been really great. Guys, all of Matt's information will be in the description. Until next week. Bye.
See ya.